みんなで取り戻すんだ。必ず止めよう。さあ、ヴィラン退治だ。
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
And today we are finally covering the 7th season of My Hero Academia. Yay!
Yay! Now, the season is the series' most intense and action-packed yet, with the final showdown between heroes and villains finally brought to the screen. And Deku is about to face his destiny fight and defeat Shigiraki and all for one. But
before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notifications for the future podcasts and want to pause videos.
Yes, thank you for joining us today, subscribing, sharing our videos, commenting. We appreciate everything you do. You are awesome and our superheroes.
Yes.
You know this is one of our favorite series ever.
Yes, absolutely.
And 7 was a wild ride.
Yes.
It had so many ups and downs, tragedy and comedy.
Yes.
But unfortunately for this season, more tragedy than comedy.
Especially since we are in the final arc. And we definitely had to cover this because in October of this year, we're going to get the final season of the series. And the manga has already been done. Mm-hmm. So we know there's going to be quite a bit left to adapt for this. So season 7 and 8 kind of go together at this point. Plus, we have the Your Next movie that preceded this season, which kind of takes place in the middle of what's going on. So it's sort of like a big in-between movie within the storyline.
And we released our podcast for that last week. If you haven't seen it, it should be coming up sometime during the podcast.
Yes.
Check it out if you want to hear our thoughts on that movie.
Yes.
Now, the 7th season was produced by Bones, as usual, and directed by Kenji Nagasaki and Naomi Nakayama. And it's following the beginning of the 34th volume through the end of the 39th volume, chapters 329 to 398.
Right. So that means that the final season, number 8, will cover the final 2 volumes of the series.
This also is a shorter season.
Yes, and I think it's because they had a 4-part recap before it officially starts. Because usually they start with one filler episode that acts as a recap and sort of a breather before you get started. Well, because they were already in the middle of the war arc, they couldn't do the silly stuff they had at the beginning. So they did a 4-part recap called Memories, each episode focusing on the different point of view of a character and their journey all the way to the end of this series. We had Deku's point of view, Bago's point of view, All Might's point of view, and then Shigaraki's point of view, basically encapsulating the entire series up to this point through all their respective viewpoints.
And it might be something you go, you know what, I'm not going to watch it because I saw all of last season. It's superfluous. I don't need to do it. And we said, you know what, let's go ahead and watch it. And believe it or not, you enjoyed each one of the parts, the recaps, just like you were watching a regular episode.
Right.
It was still enjoyable, still fun. It wasn't dubbed, but the English VA and the Japanese VAs are spectacular.
Yes.
So it was just as much fun watching the recaps as it was regular episodes. So yeah, if you add the 4 recaps plus 21, that's 25.
Yeah. Oh, and forgive me, it wasn't Baku got his own. He was with Deku at this rate, but it was Uraraka that had her own recap, so apologies for that. But yes, it was still high action from start to finish and left everybody wanting more. Even though most people probably already read the manga to the end and the conclusion, you still want to see the end of this series animated because it was still intense watching this just as much as it was reading it.
True. Now, originally aired from May 4th through October 12th of 2024, and there was not a similar dub. The episodes were supposed to come out 2 weeks. The dub episodes were supposed to come out 2 weeks after the original airing, but they were coming out 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
So we had a 3-week delay in being able to see them dubbed.
Right.
Some people just waited until the dub started and then started watching. But you know us, we watched it dubbed and subbed.
So twice over.
Yes.
Yep. And as we said in previous podcasts when we covered the movies, it was still entertaining whether it was sub or dub or both. So we still loved it regardless.
And like the other movies, this one was canon as well.
Right.
But it worked into the events of this season.
Right.
So it really was necessary to watch this movie.
Yeah.
It's not like you got to fill in with the other movies. This
Right.
one was intricate to the plot of season 7.
Right. And it's very straightforward. There are no really subplots in here. They focus on different people during the battle at the same time, but there are no subplots, no A and B side. It's just the heroes and the villains fighting for the fate of the world. That's the entire season in a nutshell. And they take a few episodes on certain characters when they're going one-on-one with villains, or even some of them going up against All For One, because the main goal of him was trying to reach Shigiraki so he could fuse with him and get the new body. So it was just about keeping him away.
Yeah. So the season starts off with what everyone had been anticipating, the introduction of Star and Stripe.
Yes.
And you loved her before you even saw her in
gosh.
the freaking anime. We all loved her.
Yes.
And it's one of the only 2 times that I was very upset with Horikoshi because he can do no
gosh.
wrong. She didn't make it beyond 2 episodes.
It sucked. And I guess, and I can't tell if he really did choose to do that to show how intimidating and powerful Shigiraki was, because they said if she had shown up, they would have been over before it started. So maybe that was to keep them from winning so quickly. But part of me thinks they were told to write that because I feel like she should have had more of a presence in the story before she was taken out.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe they didn't want it to be having a foreign superhero come to the aid of the Japanese heroes, even though that was the whole point of her coming in, because they needed help.
She did make a difference, and she did turn the tide.
Yeah.
And what we love, thank you, Horikoshi, she was put in a positive light.
Yes,
and
very.
The Japanese even loved her.
Yes.
And the guys that she commanded, they
Very.
were happy to go into the
Big
thick
sis.
of everything with her. And you just loved her personality. And
Yes.
you loved that All Might was her hero.
Yes.
Everything about her was just right.
And they connected it with 2 heroes, because when you watch it, we had no idea until they had shown a flashback. All Might actually had saved her in the 2 Heroes movie, yet again proving it's canon.
Yeah.
And that's what inspired her to become a superhero and become the #1 hero in America.
Yes, so thank you for giving us a positive superhero.
Yes.
You couldn't have loved her anymore. So again, one of only 2 times I was pissed at you.
Right, it
Horikoshi.
was like, why?
You didn't let her have more of a presence. We would have rather you just let her get hurt and not taking her out.
Right. May even lose the quirk. I would have
Yeah.
taken that a little more than her being gone. Yeah.
But it was a great way to start off the season.
Right.
And we had been waiting months because, of course, you had the release of the volume prior to the episode. And then they had given us a teaser of her during the summer.
Yes.
So, not the summer, during the fall. So everyone was excited.
Yes. And this was really one of the biggest events we had for the anime lineup, because every episode not only had high ratings, but it was always talked about online every day or night, depending on what time you watched it, and released when the episode came out. And they were just losing how they really took care of the adaptation, because people were concerned it was going to look a little bit meh, because one of the previous seasons didn't have animation up to par that people were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can be sure that this season, and now the final season has outstanding animation, because everything looked like they just put all their effort and everything into animating the entire fights.
True. So some of the major heroes and students that had a larger focus at this time, and one, of course, is Dabi and the Todoroki.
Yes, and that was one of the biggest ones people have been looking forward to ever since it was out in the manga, because this also brings the closure Endeavor had after finding out that Toya was alive and all the crap that happened to him after thinking he was gone all these years. And this was really huge because there's a lot of people out there, and we can understand you can love and hate characters, but Endeavor seemed to be one of the characters that endeared a lot of hate from fandom, or even people that just come across it because of mature, and they really empathized with Dabi. And you did get a bit of his backstory and how it led up to him becoming this villain as you watched. And this was Mason endeavors thinks of he would really go out in a flame because he wanted to seek retribution for everything and thinking he forgot about him and thinking he caused all this damage to him. And the crazy thing, people thought he was going to be gone and was going to be happy. And it's like, I think that was not the whole point of this. It was really about all the stuff he had done really coming back. And yes, he was still trying to be good throughout the rest of the series after recognizing all the stuff he had done in the past was wrong. And what was great about it is that all the family came to help him back because they see, and I know some of them had doubts, he really did feel guilty about everything he had done, so they all came to help him.
And Horikoshi, in his infinite wisdom, writes him a retribution story. As you said, trying to amend. He can't change the past, but he can work to do better in the future. And he can work to bring his family back together. And I like that he put that in there because a lot of times you don't have that.
Right.
And it was the total opposite of what's happened with Shigiraki. He killed them all. He just got rid of all his family. And there was no, even if there had been an opportunity for maybe his mom and his dad and the other family member's sister to be sorry later, it wasn't going to happen because he took them all out.
Right.
So I like where he showed, okay, this is what happens when you have a person who gets so angry and hate-filled, they destroy everything. There's no chance for reconciliation. Here is one where, yes, for years he did the wrong thing, but he knows now that he's done the wrong thing. And he loves his family despite what anybody says about his past behavior and them even not forgiving him. He loves his family. Mm-hmm. He loved his wife all while she was in the rehab. Mm-hmm. Flowers all the time, making sure she was well taken care of. You have to remember, he wasn't that much older than Ray.
Right.
And so he had to grow as well. He also had been reared clearly in a family that kind of let him do what he wanted to do.
Right.
And he had to grow.
Yes.
And I like that Horikoshi showed that.
Right.
And then Dabi, if you've read the manga, you know that there's going to be a happy ending. And at first you weren't sure because of all the things he'd done and he bragged about. But then you see that he really had just been driven crazy by One for All.
Yeah.
And how he was manipulated and used. And now you know the Todoroki's are going to get a happy ending with Dabi. And you're glad.
Yes.
You're actually very grateful that it's going to turn out that way.
Right.
And that he'll get to be with his family. And hopefully can make up for so much of the time he missed.
Right.
Then two characters who got a little focus a few episodes was Tokiyama and Hoxa.
Yes. Yes. Because a few of them are going up against All For One. They were trying to stop him or slow him down from getting Shigiraki because he was actually reversing his age because you're taking part of like the quirk that Eri has. So he was he's not 1,000, but he might as well be. So he was like constantly rewinding himself so he'd be at his peak and be tougher to beat. So you had Hoxa, as you like to pronounce it, and Tokiyami. Oh, and Jiro, of course, trying to slow him down, and it was becoming like they could get killed in one hit because he has so much power. And he even had one of the scenes people have been waiting for where they thought Hawks had died, and then Tokiyami's horrified, and then you saw it was an illusion, and he turns into like a 1D character going, ah! Which I had to give you some humor. And they do have it. There are bits of humor throughout it because you need some type of levity because of how crazy and how dark it got through the entire time.
True. You got to see Hoxa being a hero, and I know I'm saying it. It's not an affectation. I just love the way when they say Hoxa and that's the Gina stuff. I just like
in Japanese.
Yes. And you get to see him be the hero you know he is. And then you see Tokoyama. He's been learning from not only all the instruction from Aizawa, but also from Hawks taking him under his wing.
Right.
And you get to see him be the hero. And though you guys may not like it, you get to see Mineta be a hero. He didn't want Hawks to lose his quirk.
Yes.
And he said to take his. Yeah. And for him to sit and just willingly say, take it, do this to me, don't hurt him. For those of you that hate him, that's your business.
Right.
But it shows that all along, Horikoshi wanted us to know he has the makings of a hero. Every hero is not perfect.
Yes.
Everyone's not going to have the best personality and, best looking and all of that.
Right.
But deep down, Mineta is a hero. And
Yes.
I loved it. Two more standouts. One we got to get to first, as much as I hate to, is what happened with Bakugo in this season.
Right.
And remember when I was reading the manga and you told me I was just upset.
Yes, very. And it's like, I don't care about Spud. I'm going to look at him to make sure he's not gone. I was like, well, throw this book in the trash. And it's like, okay, he's not. Okay.
But those were some of the hardest episodes to watch.
Yes.
And one where you thought he was gone. Oh my gosh. I remember. I got up from the chair and I was like, no!
Yes. Yeah. And then when they actually held on this a while and people had really praised how his entire focus was animated in there. Not only did you see that he really truly did look up to All Might. So if you still call him a villain, that's your business. But he really looked up to All Might. He really did want to become a hero and was fighting tooth and nail to be one. And for all the stuff he had said to Deku, he already had apologized. But just like they had shown in the book, they kept in here that he cared about Deku. That was his best friend. That was his brother. That was his brother. He collected stuff with him, and he was still thinking that was his best friend the whole time. And the thing that he was thinking about when you thought it was the end, it showed he did care. He does love her. Yeah, he's got his anger, explosive stuff, but he does care.
Yes. And we won't see in the anime what happens until next season.
Right.
But in the manga, if you read it, thank goodness.
Right.
And we're just happy. That's not a spoiler because they've been all over the internet.
Yeah.
We don't lose any of Class 1A, so I was just really grateful.
Right.
And then last but not least is Uraraka and Toga.
Yes. And that's been one that had been praised a lot when it aired. We would see constant posts about the two of them because for a while, there were some mostly female viewers that felt that Uraraka and other female members of MHA didn't get storylines or arcs and stuff because they weren't doing hard-hitting, bloody battle like the boys and felt like, well, they're not getting any points because they're not fighting hard like that. Well, for ones who felt like that, you get your wish with her. And even with some of the other girls that you see fight in here, they get beaten pretty well in here because they're going up against strong opponents, male or female.
Including Juro losing one
Part
of
of
her
the
jacks.
Yeah, and it was like, oh gosh, for all of them. But yes, this was another one that was praised, not just for animation, but the storytelling, and you see more of Toga's point of view, and you got actually a little more of her backstory. And yes, she was like this and crazy anyway, but you ended up getting a part reason why she ended up going off kilter because people weren't willing to help her because of the quirk.
Just like Shigiraki.
Yeah, because there was part of her that she didn't understand how the quirk worked. She just she felt good doing it, and no one was helping her shape out the quirk and get it to under control or how it does it. She was just kind of doing what she wanted, so she just kept adapting what they called her.
And the parents didn't even try to help her.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the saddest parts. If the parents had simply paid attention and tried to help her instead of treating her like she was a pariah and saying all these awful things about her, she probably wouldn't have turned out like she did simply with the love of the parents. But that's how it was written. And you felt empathy for her. You couldn't help it when you were seeing that.
Right.
And then Uraraka all along had empathy for her. When she told her, she says, am I cute? And she says, the cutest in the world.
Yes. And she was happy.
Yes, I was crying.
And she told her, you can have some of my blood. It's like, I know it's not supposed to sound endearing, but it is.
Yes. And when she chose to save Uraraka and sacrifice herself, then you saw she wasn't just saying stupid things. I love Deku. I love you. She wasn't just saying stuff. She truly felt this way.
Yes.
And again, you had Horikoshi showing a villain who realized what they did was wrong. And then she also was just kind of tired of how she'd been living and how things had turned out. And she chose to sacrifice herself to save Uraraka.
Yeah.
And that was just really deep, really heavy. And it was a tragedy because you have to remember, this was a kid.
Yeah.
She's not an adult. She was a kid, and this is how her life ended for her.
Right.
And it was sad, regardless of what had happened. You also had learned that she had a heart, because twice she was really destroyed by him being taken out.
Right.
So those are some heavy hitters, and then one extra credit.
Yes.
Is us being able to finally see what Hagakure looked like.
Yes. Yes, that's right. We finally got to see it because it ended up being impactful for the story, and they did reveal who the UA traitor was, and we're not gonna spoil here just in case you happen to not see the previous season. Her finally seeing what she looks like comes into play with revealing the traitor, and they do lost make use minds. Yes, lost their minds and made use of the court. She wasn't just there existing, okay?
So this is available now on Blu-ray and DVD, and unfortunately it's in 3 volumes. Volume 1, 2, and 3.
Right. This is ridiculous of them breaking it all up.
And they were released separate times. Volume 1 came out July 17th of last year. 2 came out October 16th. And 3 came out just in time for the holidays, December 18th.
Right.
And for me, it's disappointing because we were able to buy the previous seasons all in one set. You had a choice. You could buy them in volumes or you could buy them as one set.
Right.
I hope as time goes by, we'll be able to get a set for this in season 6.
Right.
Because we don't want to buy volumes, and we're not going to.
Or heck, finally get a complete series box set. That'd be great too.
Well, since we already bought some, we probably just
wait.
But that would be great for those who haven't bought it. So if you have seen My Hero Academia season 7, let us know in the comments, or your favorite scenes, your favorite events, your favorite characters. Did you get to see your next?
Right.
Or any of the recap episodes?
Yes.
And are you looking forward to the 8th and final season? Which
yes.
was announced, and we've got a picture up there showing you when it's coming out. And we are looking forward to it and praying that somewhere, somehow, we get another movie.
Right. And one last thing, don't forget you also have My Hero Academia Vigilantes just in case.
Yes!
While you were waiting for the final...
Right.
While you're waiting for the final season, give it a watch if you haven't already, or rewatch it as you wait for it.
And check out our podcast covering the first impressions for the season.
Right.
As well as our coverage of the original manga, which is fantastic.
Yes.
If you haven't read it. And if you haven't seen this season, you need to watch it. It's the best one yet. Each season gets better and better. Haters, I'm not listening to you.
Right.
Each season gets better and better. And we just can't wait for season 8.
Right. And if you don't already subscribe for updates, weekly videos for your anime series, anime shows, and all things animation and MHA.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today, sharing our videos, commenting. As always,
you are special. Thank you so much for watching Mask Entertainment.
And Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.